We're going to the Heister Automotive Group hotline to chat with Jamie Hersch of NHL Network. Want to talk a little Canes, a little trade deadline, which is really bearing down on us. Jamie, thank you very much for taking the time to jump on the show.
Hey, no problem. Good to talk to you.
There we go. We'll start with kind of what's on everyone's mind, right? The leap day gave us an extra day before the trade deadline, but it's coming at us either way pretty darn quickly here. Do you see the Canes being big movers and shakers? Do you sense there's an all-in move coming by any chance?
I do kind of get the sense that the Canes are a team to watch because they have an abundance of goalies right now and some defensemen that are on expiring contracts. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking for someone kind of in the forward group. That would be my guess, just because they're such a talented team. They're such a structured team. We know brind'amour is an amazing coach and has gotten the most out of all those players. But I think when we at NHL Network talk about Carolina, a lot of times we're still left wondering if they have that true game breaker. Sebastian Aho's amazing, right? Leads the team in goals and points again. We know that, but I don't know. Come playoff time, do they need someone else? Do they need an even bigger game breaker than Aho, or just an additional star forward type player? So that would be, I think, the one thing I could see Carolina doing, again, because they've got different goalies, and I think you know more about Freddie Anderson's current situation than anybody, but if he's going to be back anytime soon, and certainly with the way Kochetkov been playing, I think they could afford to kind of be creative with a couple of their moves that they could make and still bring someone in that could potentially help them down the stretch.
Jamie, I can see why you would think we would know more about the Freddie Anderson situation, but there's I don't even know if there's anything to know. We're in the dark, I think, as much as anybody. But it is interesting hearing you. There's kind of two ways to respond to what you just said. I think it's interesting that you're looking at the Canes with an abundance of goalies. It feels like 2 months ago, the concern was they didn't have any goalies. Freddie Anderson was up in the air. Antti Raanta was being waived. Kochetkov was still so young and unproven, and Spencer Martin was on the Blue Jackets.
That's true, and you're right. It's not like they have an abundance of number one goalies, I guess I should say. They've got 4 guys, or potentially 4 guys, who could all compete for that number one spot. And so, that's the biggest question is, do they feel comfortable with Raanta? Do they feel comfortable with Kochetkov? Where is Freddie Anderson in terms of his timeline? Is he going to be a reliable option come playoff time? I mean, those are big questions, so you're right. But I don't know that I see them going out to make a move for a goalie either,
Jamie Hersch, NFL Network, joining us here. Follow her on Twitter at Jamie Hersch. What is the league's view of Pyotr Kochetkov, right? Similar to the Anderson situation, we are so locked in. We're studying every save of Kochetkov, but from maybe an outsider's perspective, is he getting number one goalie love? Is he seen as, they might have found their future in Carolina?
That's what we think here up in New Jersey, NHL Network. I actually have a couple of goalies here that I work with regularly in both Devin Dubnyk and Kevin Weeks. And actually today we've got an all-goalie NHL Now. I'm on the air in about 45 minutes with Devin Dubnyk and Corey Schneider. And so I'll ask them, too, what they think of Kochetkov in terms of his future potential in Carolina specifically. But I think he's really turning heads. I mean, I read somewhere that he's 9-3 in his last however many appearances, great save percentage, goals against. And so, again, they have such a sound defensive structure in front of him. So I think that'll always help whoever is going to be in net. But I've certainly seen some pretty impressive saves from him over the past month or however long he's been really riding a hot streak here. So I definitely think, if I were Carolina and Freddie Anderson's not coming back anytime yet, I mean, Kochetkov looks like he could be your number one goalie going into the playoffs.
Here's the other. I want to go back to your first answer that we talked about, because there were 2 things that stuck out. 1, the abundance of goalies conversation, and 2 was going after the game changer. Could you put and we're just kind of hypothesis here. We're just a couple of people talking about hockey. What names might be that game changer that you could hear the Canes being interested in?
Well, everyone's talking right now about defense, right? And we know Chris Tanev's now off the board. He went to Dallas yesterday, but Noah Hannafin is certainly a name that's being thrown out there on defense. I'm looking more at the forward group, and a guy that I've always been a fan of since his first time playing playoff hockey with Pittsburgh, way back when they won their first of the 2 consecutive cups, is Jake Gensel. And, I kind of think he's got to be moved because he is on an expiring contract. He's so talented. I know the Pittsburgh Penguins want to keep him, and maybe Sidney Crosby can, put a good word in enough to keep him there because I know he loves playing with Gensel. But I have a sneaky feeling that Gensel's not going to be a Penguin come next month or next week even. And so he could be a guy that could be that game breaker. He's got incredible playoff success. I don't know how familiar Carolina fans are with him specifically, but every time he's on the ice, he stands out to me. I actually go way back with him, so I'm a little biased because I actually covered the Golden Gophers when his dad was an assistant coach there. And so I've known Jake for many years and always, root for his personal success as a Minnesota boy that he is, and I'm a Minnesota girl. But all that being said is he's proven himself as a legit top forward in this league on any team. And so I think he could be a really nice fit. I know Adam Henrique's name has been out there a lot in terms of other forwards that might be available. And then there's Tarasenko. I don't know that I see Tarasenko really as the best kind of fit. I think he's still great. He is a game breaker, but he is a little older than I think the Hurricanes need to be. But those are three names I'll toss out there into the universe and see what sticks.
I like to judge this. Everything you said there got a positive head nods from my producer Dennis, who is super in tune with the Canes, until you said Tarasenko, and then the yes nods turned to a no nod.
Yeah, because he's a little bit older, and I think he's lost a bit of a step, but I don't think he's quite that game breaker I was mentioning beforehand.
Quickly here, Jamie Hersch, NHL Network. Follow her on Twitter at Jamie Hersch. Jamie, before we let you go, we do something on Thursdays here called Her Confidence and Her Concerns. It's pure pun, but it's basically what we're most confident in, what we're most concerned about with the Canes. And we always start with the bad news first. What is your biggest concern right now for the Carolina Hurricanes as you're gearing up for the deadline and obviously, hopefully, a run in the playoffs for around here?
My biggest concern has to be goaltending, even though we talk about the abundance of goaltending.
Thank you for being in the same pretzel we are. I'm so happy you're right there.
I know, because, again, we hear the GM talk about all these goalies and we're good, we're fine, but for years it's been the question, who is the number one and how do we feel about Freddie Anderson? How do we feel? I mean, I know we love him, right? As a person, everyone's cheering for him with his health condition, but how do we feel about him and the confidence in his ability to be a number one goalie going into the playoffs? I'm not sure that I'm super confident in that right now. So that would be my big concern, her concern. And what was the other one?
And then the other one is her confidence. What are you most confident in that you can depend on, that you can lean on when it comes to the Canes?
The coaching. I'm such a Rod Brind'amour fan. I mean, he's every year should be in the Jack Adams conversation. It's incredible what he's done with that group and just the type of role model leader that he is. Every player I've ever interviewed that is in that dressing room has just raved about him. And so, whether it's, re-signing into a mega deal or whatever it is, that's the number one confidence that I have in this team is their ability to compete night in, night out, best of 7 series. I love the fact that they're led by Rod Brind'amour and he's got them playing really, really sound. And I actually the other night I was doing it on the fly and one of our leads was about the Hurricanes and how they're so quietly building in the standings right now. And no one's talking about them because the Rangers were on their tear, right? Their 10-game win streak. But I think it's since January 24th, sometime late January, the Canes actually have the third best record in the NHL since then. So, you guys know it very well, and I'm sure everyone in that dressing room is probably content to let everyone else kind of not know that they are doing really well. But if you're looking at all the numbers, both underlying and just the plain stats in front of you, Carolina's playing a really sound, solid brand of hockey right now. And so, led by their coach, I think I'd be confident.
It was so smart of them to struggle through the first month to then storm under the radar on their way back to contenderdom.
Take warning.
Jamie, we appreciate you for taking the time, and we'll do this again later on in the season.
Yeah, thanks so much. Take care.